It's been about 6 months since the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE was released for $600, and I've been using this device off and on for this period. In this video, I'm going to lay out the things you should know about this device and also if this is worth purchasing right now in 2024. And so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. First off, if smartphone colors are a bit serious to you, then the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE offers a series of interesting colors. The purple one here is the happiest purple I've ever seen on a smartphone. The tangerine color looks great too, especially for them ladies. The colors on this smartphone are bright, glossy, especially for the back here, and it's a kind of fingerprint magnet if you ask me. And one other thing I love about the colors is how they look really saturated. You can still get cream or graphite if you want, that boring color, but there is also a lovely mint and a cloudy indigo blue if that's something you want. This thing here has a lot of options in terms of the colors. The design for the Galaxy S23 FE comes straight from the Samsung Galaxy S playbook. It's glass front and back, and the cameras are like portholes peeking out from beneath the sea of purple in my case here. The cameras usually attract dust around them, which somehow bothers me anyway, but that's a design choice Samsung has decided to keep. The branding is remarkably subtle, which is something I love about this device, and can't see the word Samsung unless you hold this phone to the light in some angle. It's there but somehow disappears at times. This is one good thing about the design at the back here, less branding. Now, as far as how thick this device is, this smartphone without a case is thick with 3 Cs. For context, the middle child Galaxy S23 Plus has a larger display than the Galaxy S23 FE here, but the FE is more than half thicker, and it weighs a hefty 13 grams more. It for sure looks big, feels big and premium, but isn't uncomfortable to hold. The sides are brushed metal and nicely rounded, which is one good thing about the comfort you get with this device if you ask me. With a thicker design and brighter colors, this phone gives off a youthful vibe, almost like a toy, but a useful toy that won't break. By the way, there's no headphone jack here in the footsteps of the flagship devices like the S24 Ultra here. And now, as you expect from Samsung devices, the display on the S23 FE looks great, especially against the phones at this price range. It's not quite as bright as the Galaxy S23, but it looks just as sharp, colorful, and it holds this HDR10 Plus certification for watching and streaming content in superior HDR quality. This display is AMOLED, 120Hz refresh rate for smooth scrolls and animation. I haven't had any issues outdoors as this is really bright for outdoor use or for what it is. One thing about this display I do not really like would be the bezels around this panel. They are not the smallest you get, and they are not symmetrical as far as the top and bottom of this display. But you quickly get over it after a few days. Did I notice it? Yes, I did, but that was because I kept going back and forth between the S24 Ultra and this device, and it kept reminding me that I had a cheaper device here. I'm sure for those people who do not have these devices to compare side by side every day, the bother would quickly disappear. There's a good always on display option on the Galaxy S23 FE, but it's turned off at default and you have to dig into your settings to turn that on this device. Also with Samsung Good Lock, there are lots of options, wallpapers, themes and lock screens you can use with this device. Actually better options than the regular One UI screen. Before I move on to the software side of things, you get an in-display fingerprint scanner on here, the optical type, which gets the job done in every aspect. Now let's talk about software here. The great thing about Samsung devices is the fact that they are loaded with lots of features, and Samsung didn't skimp on this one. A lot of features you find on the S23 Ultra are also found on this device. It honestly felt like I was using a flagship device. I didn't really notice not using a flagship line device like the S24 Ultra here. I mean, I have the S23 Ultra and the S24 Ultra, and this phone still felt perfect. I must admit here, at first, there were some UI bugs I did experience with this device, but with a couple updates, software updates from Samsung, things have been cleared up and it runs really smooth. By the way, the S23 FE runs on Android 14 here after the update and One UI 6. I might have to say this device seems to have more features than any other smartphone around this price point. Now let's talk about the cameras. The Galaxy S23 FE has very good cameras, although not comparable to the flagship lineup here. I'd say it sits right in the middle of smartphones in this price range. The main camera here, which is a 50 megapixel sensor, is quite good, especially under bright lighting conditions. Though the details are not always perfect, this gets the job done. The 3x 8 megapixel optical zoom camera is passable and better than the digital zoom you get on other smartphones for this price. Now Samsung has done a great job with the cameras on this one, and especially for the camera app with this device. You can trust the photo modes to do what they promise. The food mode on here on Samsung cameras is one of my favorites, applying warm color tones and a nice bokeh blur to the background to make the food subjects pop. In every mode, the photos are highly saturated on this device, but that's nothing new with Samsung. If you care about photography and want things to look a little bit natural without the whole saturation thing going on here, you might be better off with older devices like the Google Pixel 7, which takes slightly better pics and also gives you Google's unique photo editing tools. Of course, the S23 FE is powerful enough to run Adobe Lightroom to edit your photos in post, but again, the Google Pixel 7 skips a telephoto lens which you get on this one. Now, if you want the real zoom camera on your smartphone, you might only want to consider this smartphone, the S23 FE, because those other devices like the Google Pixel 7 only has digital zoom. I found zoom to be one of the best qualities in terms of the camera here, and even at night, the zoomed in pictures look pretty good. Videos can be recorded at up to 8K in resolution, but I don't find myself going that high for videos, or maybe I just don't need it. I also did notice that while recording at 4K 60 FPS, you won't be able to switch between lenses. So at 4K 60 FPS, there's no switching from the main camera to the ultra wide or the zoom lens. That can only happen at 30 FPS. Confusingly, Samsung includes two photo gallery apps here, its own gallery and the Google Photos app. I use Google Photos because I have to back up my photos to Google Drive, but with Samsung's gallery here, you can back up your photos to OneDrive. Forget that the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE runs on a chipset that's now officially 2.5 generations old. The Samsung Exynos 2200 is fast enough for the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and it's fast enough for anything you can do on an Android smartphone right now. If the smartphone is powerful enough to emulate a laptop in Samsung DeX mode, it has that support here, then you can be sure that performance is no problem. Gaming is also great on this device, and the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE has no trouble tearing up cheap phone noobs in Call of Duty. My unit is the 128 gigs 8GB RAM variant. By the way, here are benchmark scores when compared to the Google Pixel 8 Pro's Tensor G3 chipset and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now let's talk about the batteries. The S23 FE has no trouble lasting through a busy workday until it's time for bed. You get a 4500 mAh battery, which is much larger than the 3900 mAh battery cell inside the Galaxy S23. Most of Samsung's choice here add up to better battery life on the Galaxy S23 FE. For instance, the screen isn't as bright as the Galaxy S23, and that saves battery. The processor isn't as fast, and that saves battery. I think for $600, these are some worthwhile sacrifices. And now, as far as charging here, you get a respectable 25 watts charging system here, and that's for the wired connection, which is about the best you get from an iPhone 15 Pro anyway. Better than that, it has wireless charging system here, which is a feature some phone makers would omit at this price point. Not only does Samsung give you a respectable 15 watts wireless charging, but you can also use the Galaxy S23 FE for reverse wireless power share with another device like your Galaxy Buds Pro or your friend's dead iPhone. I promise that's a feature you can only find on premium smartphones. You can also make many power saving features and performance adjustments to save your battery life. Either way, the battery life was really good with this device. Averagely, I got about 5 hours screen on time with this smartphone. So if you're considering getting last year's devices from Samsung, say the S23 or the S23 Plus variant, you might want to check out this device first. For a cutting price, you might be better off getting the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE. It's a really dependable smartphone. I know the bezels are not the thinnest, but it has a solid display. The camera performance is commendable, especially the zoom capabilities here. Despite running on an older chipset, the Galaxy S23 FE delivers smooth performance, suitable for gaming and multitasking. It has a robust battery life coupled with the fast and wireless charging options. It ensures lasting usage throughout the day. Overall, I'll recommend this for maybe around $450 to $500. $600 in 2024 might just be a stretch for me since Samsung devices usually lose their values in no time. But do you think the Google Pixel 7a is better value for money coming in at $400? Find out here. Kawai that day.